All right, everyone. Hillary Clinton supposedly referring to Bernie Sanders as a sore loser and rambling about how if he loses in a place, he'll burn it down, so to speak. Yeah, a little bit, but here's the problem. It's really, really funny because the Clinton camp is vicious and the Bernie camp is vicious. And they fucking hate each other. The Bernie Sanders fans, by and large, seem to believe that Clinton snookered them in the election, which is, half true. It was more the DNC than the Clinton camp itself. Hillary Clinton had her own problems to deal with at the time, and it looks like some of her staffers were coordinating directly with the DNC, so that's, where they get that from. And then on the other end, Hillary Clinton thinks that Sanders and or his fans robbed her of the election. She's like, he didn't drop out fast enough, and his fans they defected, they refused to support me. And so, I can understand if someone believes in my free shit, if they believe in my socialism, far leftist ideology, yeah, it'd be difficult for them to support somebody like Clinton, who ultimately is little different from a Bush Republican. Likewise, it would have been difficult, let's say Sanders had been nominated, it would have been really hard, I think, for neoliberal, center-left individuals, so-called, to get behind a socialist platform. Clinton tried to waffle around with everything on the fucking Medicare, Medicaid sort of shit, military adventurism, taxes, free shit, education sort of bullshit. Whereas Bernie Sanders went all in and said, no, we're going to do the free shit. Yeah, I'm going to tax people like 100% of their income and just have government nanny them all the time. Basically, the shitty platform, but at the same time, it's not entirely wrong that Clinton basically screwed him. He did get screwed by the DNC at behest of Clinton, of course. The thing is, they couldn't do anything other than that. She was owed too many favors, I think. She seems to have run out a bit now because nobody will give her any pity within the Democratic Party. But at least, Beto wanted to call her up and beg for favors and shit like that. Apparently, Cory Booker did too. It's funny because Cory Booker was initially like a top-rung candidate almost. He was in fourth place, and now he just disappeared completely, has no traction at all. Could be the fact that every time he speaks, he makes a fool of himself, but that's just an opinion I happen to share with most other people. But there's a little bit of a civil war brewing within the Democratic Party. But you've got to understand that the Clinton-Bernie Sanders squabble, their little feud and the bad blood between their fans is just a microcosm of the bigger problem within the Democratic Party. This is why I've consistently stated that the Democrats, not the Republicans, are the weak party. This has been going on for a number of years. They're schismatic, they're falling apart, and they need to do some soul searching. The best thing that could happen to the Democrats as a party is that they lose this election soundly. They get crushed. They crash and fucking burn, and they are forced to finally look in the mirror and autopsy why they're failing as a party. Then they can reform. Then they can choose where to go from there. Maybe they go further left. Maybe they go back to being party of JFK. Maybe they return to just a neoliberal sanity, which is the old paradigm or something. Regardless, they have to change something, because right now their party's unpalatable to more than half of America. That's just the way that it is. Trump grew the Republican coalition. Hillary Clinton shrunk the Democratic coalition. It's basically what it's about. Can a Sanders actually pull off a situation where the coalition grows? I don't think that he can, but the Democrats can try it if they want. The larger problem has nothing more to do with anything more sophisticated than one really simple concept. There are multiple groups within the Democratic Party that don't play nicely. Now, before, what passed as a further left, like leftists, and the business Dems could sort of get along because they didn't clash too much. The problem is that the further left segment has gone really, really far left, to the point where AOC is considered like a center leftist by these people. Oh, no, she's not even far left. She's just a social democrat. Yeah, she wants free shit and cow fart removal and banning all airplanes. That's not that far left. They've gone out into the left field. The problem is that the neoliberals who control the party, the corporatists, the ones with the money and the entrenched power, they're trying to keep that as part of their coalition while keeping the business Democrats as part of their coalition. Well, they don't play together nicely. One of them is going to mostly abandon the party during the election. That's what I've speculated for a very long time. It began in 2016, at least in the electoral sense, and we see it still happening. This is why you see squabbling between AOC and the Pelosi's of the party. It's basically the same thing. When we look at Clinton and Bernie Sanders sparring, it's no different than when some other centrist, so-called, a Feinstein or a Pelosi, is sparring with an AOC or Rashida Tlaib or something like that. It's the same basic premise. The problem is also this. The Democrats are between a cock and a hard place with regards to this. Here's the problem. They look at the further left segment. It's younger. It's more politically active. But But younger voters also turn out less. They also have a lot less money. They look at the business Democrats, they're dying off slightly, or at least the population isn't growing as fast as the new left, the far left. But they've got more money. They're in important swing states that they have to target, and so they're desperately trying to cling to both. They haven't yet formulated a platform that works for both of these groups of people. Because you've got too many ideas being thrown around haphazardly with people glomming onto them, like when Elizabeth Warren is like, hey, and I speculated this would happen 5 fucking years ago, that she'd move to the left. She's trying to pretend to be progressive. She says, oh, AOC's New Green Deal. Yeah, it seems like a basic framework I could get behind. Yeah, I support it generally. Well, there you go. You see somebody who's basically a corporate liberal who lies about a race for fucking 40 years, glomming on to the far left in order to try to win votes. And the problem is, of course, alienating business Democrats in the process. Now, that's okay for her, because, isn't she from Connecticut or Massachusetts? So she's from a heftily liberal state. She's not from Michigan. She's not from Pennsylvania or Iowa or something. You've got a Democratic Party that's simply fracturing. It's sort of every person for themselves, it seems, at some times. The DNC, Perez, doesn't even want to weigh in on things. He lets Pelosi handle everything. He and Schumer are cowards. Pelosi's the one running the party right now, and she's running it into the ground because she says weird shit too. The one thing the Democrats have to rally around is impeachment. Orange man bad. Things that's not going to be a good platform for 2020, I think. So there's a little bit of a civil war going on right now within the Democratic Party. This is just one little tiny component of it. It just happens to be more newsworthy. Because it involves Clinton and Sanders and, oh my god, the Bernie bros and the Clinton fans, they can't get along. Well, yeah. Ultimately, at the end of the day, most Sanders fans that voted ended up voting for Clinton. But there were some defectors and a lot of them stayed home. And that's really what it's about. And if Biden becomes the nominee, that far left that's also already feeling alienated is going to feel way more. Oh my god, another boring old white dynastic politician with old outdated 90s and 80s era ideals leading this party. Fuck this shit. Some of them will vote green. Some of them will vote for Trump out of spite. Some of them will vote for themselves or Mickey Mouse or maybe Styx Hexenhammer. But a lot of them aren't going to vote for Joe Biden or whatever other neoliberal likely gets the nomination. The other likely one at this point would be Warren, which would be even funnier. I hope Elizabeth Warren becomes the nominee. It'd be the funniest campaign ever seeing her break down on stage when questioned about her genetics. That's about all. Peace out.